Okay, welcome everybody to number 96 of our Let's Talk About sessions. And today we're going to talk about Sicily's historical heritage and present day progress, sustainability, organics, and more with Alessio Planeta. I extend a welcome to those of you who are not members of the Circle of Wine Writers. The Circle was founded in 1960 in the UK and today has over 260 members. Based around the world. We comprise of wine writers, broadcasters, educators, and other professional communicators. We've got a split of about 50-50, 50% in the UK and 50% around the rest of the world. You can find out more about the Circle on our website. And if you're interested in joining, then please do contact us. There's the application to do your application online. You can also join our mailing list if you're not a member of the Circle of Wine Writers, and we can invite you to future events that's similar to this. But now, as all it's left for me to do is now to hand over to Michelle Shah, committee member, along with Liz Saggis, who's in charge of organising such events. Over to you, Michelle.
Thank you, Andrea, and a very warm welcome to Alessio Planeta, owner and CEO of Planeta Winery, a family-run business and one of the flagship estates in Sicily. Alessio will be talking to us about the different regions of production in Sicily and how Planeta, through its research, innovation and quality production, has revolutionized the Sicilian wine industry. So thank you, Alessio, and over to you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I understand that you came from all over the world, so I don't know if it's morning or afternoon for you. Afternoon for me here in Sicily. And first of all, thanks to ask me to talk about Sicily. That whenever I go around the world, I first talk about Sicily and then I talk a little bit about my family and what we do. I am involved in many Sicilian associations. One of the founder of the couple of associations that try to work to promote Sicilian wine. So I will start to share my presentation if it's okay for you. Let me see. Okay, if I am perfect. Wait a second, because of course, voila. Here we are.
No, I think that's come.
No, give me. Chiami un attimo Federica, scusami. We've tried 2 minutes ago, but now no, don't worry. We will make it.
It was perfect during the practice time.
Yeah.
That's always it. I'm sure it'll be perfect again.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Allora, perché dice che è in pausa?
Otherwise, I can share, Alessio.
No, I make it. Give me 1 second. Let me
Okay.
start. Condividi schermo.
While Alessio's doing that, please do, obviously, I forgot to mention, place any questions that you have in the chat, and we'll run through those as we can after Alessio has finished.
Here we are.
Okay.
E ora? Scusa perché sono andato in panico io. Non lo posso vedere tutto io. Non si apre bene così su tutto. You see the screen? Yes, perfect. Ok.
Sì, adesso sì.
Dammi un secondo che qua faccio una cosa perché non riesco a vederlo su tutto io.
Tutto largo.
E
qua? Questo qua.
Ok. Ora perché mi si è accesa questa cosa qui? Give me 1 second more. This is the emotional part of the game. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Now, okay, perfect. Sorry for this a little bit of suspense at the beginning. So a few times ago, your colleague, one of your colleagues asked me, so why Sicily is different? Why Sicily is eventually a different wine area? And I work a little bit on this and I come back with the 3 reasons to fall in love in Sicily eventually. First, to have a very ancient history in wine. Second, to have a unique biodiversity in the vineyards. And third, to be a real mosaic of terroirs. What you see in a small island like Sicily, that at the end is only 300 kilometers each side, you don't see anywhere in an area. First of all, ancient history. I read in a book that Sicily is the island of the 20 different civilizations. What is sure that in Sicily we have many different civilizations that stop in Sicily, dominate Sicily for some times, and during this time they influence our food, our landscape, our architecture, and for sure also our wine. Going very fast, jumping from one to another one. First people that leave sign of viticulture in Sicily were Phoenicians that founded all the western part of the island, doing something, founding Palermo, Trapani, for example, and introducing viticulture in Sicily. After this, we have the glorious, on the other side of the island, the glorious Greek time where the Greeks introduced viticulture, introduced a lot of variety that we still used to grow, like Grecanico, for example. Then we have Romans for 7 centuries. It was a very particular moment for Sicily because during Roman times we had not viticulture in the island because the Romans want to us to produce wheat, but they were wine, for example, in the northern part of the island producing Mamertino that is still known since the time of Julius Caesar. 2 glorious centuries of Arab domination, where Palermo was one of the most beautiful cities, and a lot of influence in wine. There were a lot of poets talking about wine, so they used to drink wine in that time. And for example, Zibibo is a clear sign of Arabian influence in viticulture. Jumping really big, of course, the Swabian time when Federico II make Palermo capital of Europe, and Palermo one of the most incredible place in that part of the world, and changing a lot the system, Sicily, introducing a few people owns enormous property, so there was also a development of any agriculture and viticulture. We skip the time of Spanish and many others in the middle to arrive at the time of when the British, we can say, invent the wine of Marsala because they need to, the story, they need to stop buying for a reason of a relationship with the Spanish, buying wine in the south of Spain, and they make something similar in Sicily. That was Marsala, using local grapes, introducing some Spanish grapes at that time. We used to produce, to grow Pedox Jimenez in Sicily, in that area, and making a fortified wine that was Marsala, that was very, very, very well known. We finished the story very quickly in the 150 years ago when Garibaldi made Italy as a unique country. That time, Sicily was literally covered of vineyards. There were 300,000 hectares of vineyards. So a lot of history in wine. Second, quite interesting story of the biodiversity of Sicily. In Sicily, we had 4 varieties that grows in all the region. 15 varieties that we call it here local, so it grows only in a specific area of the island. And then we have 50 ancient varieties that we rediscover with a research project done by all the Sicilian producers, including us, and in the international grapes. Results of this is a viticulture that is today 64 on white, 36 on red, 80% of local grapes, 20% on grapes coming from the rest of the world, including some other Italian varieties, so not Sicilian. And a viticulture that is big like Bordeaux. We are big like Bordeaux, we're big like Germany. We have around 95,000 hectares of vineyards with the largest quantity of organic grapes. Today, Sicily is a viticulture devoted to quality. Also because we don't have other chance because in Sicily we had the production for hectare in Sicily is almost half than in Veneto, for example. So this is quite a big difference between. This is why we have 25% in mountain, 62% in hills, and only 14% in plain viticulture. 8% is bush vines, 82 vertical trellis, and only a few curtain trellis. Sorry, wait a moment. Scusami. Okay, Perfect. Fede. Can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Sorry, io non so perché devo... You see the screen now, yes.
Yes.
With the map of Sicily at the moment?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what was... Okay, pardon. This was just to put Sicily in the on the screen, but you don't need it because no, it's not true. Mosaic of terroir. This is another very important thing about Sicily. So the soils of Sicily has a very complex origin. All the north of Sicily is done by the same mountain that you have in the center of Italy called Appennini. That thanks to the pressure of the Africa, we are in the middle between Africa and Europe. So this is thanks to this, we are exactly in the middle of this, and we have all the north of soils that are done by mountains. Then you have all the number 3, they are the soils that came out from the sea in different time with a very calcareous clay soils of the southeast and will be clay and something in the middle in the west. And of course, we have all the volcanic soils that are not only Etna, because in the north of Sicily, then we have some about the volcanoes in Sicily, and there is a little bit more volcano in Sicily, like island. A very enormous diversity also in weather condition. That is another. People sometimes think about Sicily as a desert, or at least as a hot and dry place. It's not like this, thanks to be surrounded by the sea. We have a good sea breeze, a diversity big diversity in rainfall, for example, comparing the northeast and the southwest. But in general speaking, Sicily had quite a good and an important quantity of rain. This year, honestly, a little bit less, but we are still praying to have more in the next month. But no any average of 600 millimeters of rain in all the island. The results of this, so a diversity, enormous diversity in soils, enormous diversity in variety. At the end, we in Sicily, we have something like 90 days of harvest. We start the harvest on the first days of August at the beginning with some Zibibo, some Chardonnay, and we finish in the last days of October, sometimes the first days of November on the Etna with Nerello Mascalese. So a huge diversity. This diversity, this story of Sicily was an inspiration for my family. My family was born in the southwest part of Sicily, in the area of Menfi. We start Planeta there, of course, where my family was born. And Menfi was the lab of what's happened in Sicily in the last many years. Was a lab because was the place where I didn't mention, I did say a little bit words about my uncle Diego in the next slide. There was a moment where Menfi was the place where us and other people experiment a lot. So we started Menfi, and then after this we start to go to Vittoria, Noto, Etna, and Capomilazzo around the island to produce the wine of the area. So Planeta today is in all these different places with vineyards, winery, and people in the area. Very clear value for us. So first of all, to be a Sicilian winery, but not a family winery, but in the real terms of to be a family winery, because we are 5 of us. We are involved directly involved in production. Because, for example, we have 3 generations working, so we are really on the first line. And then sustainability, not as a classic word that any person talk about. We are 2 certification, and we work hardly on this. One is organic. All Planeta is in organic since a few years, and All Planeta is certified with Sustain. That is a program of sustainability that I will say a bit more after. This is like a little bit of non-numbers, but just to be very fast. Planeta was born in '85 when we planted the vineyards with the idea of doing quality project. But then, of course, in '95 we done the first winery. in Memphis, and then in 97 in Vittoria, 98 in Noto, 2001, then 2008 in Etna, and then 2011 in Milazzo. So today we are in 5 different areas. 5 different areas in Sicily, Memphis, Vittoria, Noto, Etna, and Capo Milazzo. Planeta is not only wine, because we also have a beautiful project in olive oil. We have a property in Memphis on the sea, surrounded by the sea, like an oasis, where we have 150 hectares of olives that we grow in organic, and we produce our olive oil. We are very also active in hospitality, because we understand how was important to open our place and to show people how we do viticulture, how we do, which is our philosophy. So every person can visit the winery, have a different experience of wine and food from Vittoria, Etna, or Memphis. In Memphis, of course, where is our homeland, we also develop a project of hospitality. We have a hotel and restaurant called La Foresteria. We have a beach club and also a small hotel in Palermo, a small hotel in a village of Sambuca. So every place is done with a lot of. Let's say a few words about sustainability. We have a very clear the concept of to be a family company, so that we have the next generation that work with us, and we have a view in long term. So some years ago, we developed a project, a logo called Planeta Terra, where is a mix of practical action that we do in Planeta. The first was now is 14 years ago. We and Tasca d'Almerita, our friend and producers, we make a program of sustainability called Sustain. That is the more difficult in Italy, the more, I could say, serious in Italy, is not only how you make viticulture, but there are 10 requirements that are, of course, vineyard management, but also you have to respect some rules of biodiversity around the vineyards. We have to use local materials. We have to check our carbon and water footprint. We must be under a certain level of consumption of energy, and we must have under a certain limit of bottle weight. We create a foundation for this called Sustain, that is in charge of project that all of us are developing. To say a few words what means and also apart of Sustain, we are organic. That's something we are maybe I'm not sure, but I think we are the largest private winery in organic in Sicily for sure.
How many witnesses?
400 hectares.
How long it case will need? What track it should get? Should it be small claims track?
Organic farming is I show for you a very quick calendar what we do month after month in organic, because at the end what we check is our input in organic viticulture. In our organic viticulture, our only input are a very low quantity of sulfur, a very low quantity of cupric. Year to year, we completely, of course, stop having cover crop, having a grass killer, pesticide, mineral nutrients, and today all our viticulture is with all the input of sulfur and cupric. So of course in October we do only the after harvest a little bit of mechanical soil movements. In November we prepare the soils and we start to using the cover crops that now we have done 20 years of experimentation of cover crops in our climate condition, and we adapt in any place a different cover crop. December is the moment where we start pruning slowly, and then we finish in January. And we prune, of course, everything by hand, as it was done many years ago. Planeta have only people that work for us all year long. Thanks also to have people in the viticulture and in olives. So we have people that work with us sometimes in generation. February and March is the time where we usually plant the new vineyards, finish the pruning. In April, we start to eventually defend with Cooper and sulfur viticulture. May and June are timing of green pruning and still are going on with a little bit of sulfur because the only big enemy of Sicilian viticulture is oidium more than peronospora. Peronospora is only a few times. Then, of course, in June, July, we eventually check viticulture. We do a little bit of irrigation where it needs, and some, again, domesticated of the green part. And then, of course, August and September harvest. So at the end of the day, our viticulture is, our input are copper and sulfur, that's all. And in the last years, since we turn in organic, since we apply in a very serious and strict way sustain, we have seen completely changing our viticulture we are very, very happy. Biodiversity and protection, we have a lot of projects in Sicily. I say the last one that is still not in this paper because it's very new. A few weeks ago, we reintroduced in Sicily a bird that was disappeared 150 years ago. Thanks to the Palermo University, we have a special place where we, together with them, we introduced this. But also this, we have a lot of respect in the architecture. When you come in our place, we didn't have done many new buildings. We restore what we find using local materials, and every place is really an essential Sicilian. This is our philosophy since the beginning. This is a beautiful project done with a sustained foundation. We start to use more and more 100% Sicilian bottle, so it means a bottle that is done recycling glass in Sicily. And as you know, glass is the first responsible of the carbon footprint. So it's a great project that also, I don't know if you know Sicily, so we do both. First, we use as a lower footprint, and then we clean Sicily, that is very important. So this is a beautiful project done with sustain. So more and more you see on the bottom of the bottles, this is Sicily that represent the show that this is a bottle done in Sicily. This is the logo exactly. Also, this is very important. So Planeta, step by step, the wine that are going in the market are showing the organic certification, and step by step will be all organic. Now I describe briefly all the different wine area where we are. First is Menfi. Menfi is the place where Planeta was born, southwest of the island. Menfi is a place that today maybe is like it was 2,000 years ago, because we have only agriculture that is done by vineyards, olive trees, wheat, and shepherd and pasture. So a very old style place. Is a system of hills not far from the sea and arriving to the sea. Is an area where since a lot of time there was a lot of development of white wines. And this is the only area where we play also with French grapes. So in Menfi we play with French and Sicilian grapes. It's a system of hills that from 450 meters arrive to the sea, and it's in a really lovely area where we start all Planeta. In Menfi last year, we've done a new small winery that is dedicated 100% to our top red wine. So to separate production of our normal production with a red production in a very small winery called Cirami. Vittoria is another beautiful area of Sicily. In the southeast is the area of the Cerasuolo di Vittoria. That is the only Sicilian DOCG. Soils in Vittoria are red, flat, and sandy. It's like to walk on the beach. The soils are done of 1 meter of red sandy soil that are the origin of these soils, and then a lot of meters of calcareous soils. These soils came out from the sea. These soils came out from the sea, so they are done by the shells at the end by shells, by scatter of fish that were transformed in soils. Is the area of two grapes. One is Nerodavo, that is also in other part of Sicily, and the other one is Frappato. That is a lovely and very one of the really of the jewel of Sicilian viticulture is Frappato from Vittoria. Noto area, southeast of the island. This is the area where Nero d'Avola was born. Soils are white, are super calcareous. You see from this picture. And this is the area where the Nero d'Avola was born. Nero d'Avola was at the beginning only in the southeast in the southeast of Sicily. And then now they are many different areas of the island. But this is the area where was born. Avola is a small village near Noto. And the soils here are really super calcareous and super no, perché non funziona, non lo so. Okay. Super calcareous and super white. We have done a wonderful winery under the ground that is where we produce our Nero d'Avola, and also there is a old tradition of Moscato in Noto, or sweet wine. Sicily, we are not a producer of some of this wine, but in Sicily there are 5 different appellations of sweet wine. There is Marsala, there is Pantelleria, Passito Pantelleria, there is Malvasia delle Lipari, then Moscato in Noto and Moscato in Siracusa. So 5 sweet wine in such a small area, thanks to the tradition of Sicilian of drinking and sweet wine. I spent a little bit of time about Etna because Etna is such so hot, we can say, at the moment. So first of all, origin of Etna. Etna is not very old. This is something that people don't know, but 500 years ago, Etna was a gulf. Etna is part of the many volcanoes of the south of Italy, because Sicily is in a fail that is generated by the North Africa and Europe. And we have 2 active volcanoes, Stromboli and Etna, of course, and then a few sleeping volcanoes, including Pantelleria, including Ferdinandea, that is Empedocle, is the Isola Ferdinandea on the southeast of the island, and so quite a lot. And Etna is definitely active. For volcanologists, an active volcano is a volcano that had 1 eruption in the last 1 million of years. Etna is having in the last years an average of 50 eruptions per year, so means 1 every week. Is 3,300 meters. It became higher in the last years because this is crazy, but with the eruption, there is more and more on lava on the top. 1,200 square meters, and is surrounded by mountains like Nebrodi and Politani on the north and on the east. And there is 2 rivers down the Etna. Viticulture is not in all the volcanoes. I'll show you now a picture. And so the other volcanoes are, of course, the one on the north of the island, and then the Pantelleria, and the one on the south of the island. What is a volcano? A volcano, at the end of the day, is what? It is a place where, for some reason, there is a break in the crust, in the Mother Earth, and the lava from the center of the Earth find space to go up. They are very dangerous when they are closed. Etna, luckily, is 3 different craters on the top, so it's quite open. There was in the history some a little bit more problematic eruption when they start to go out from close to the city at 800-900 meters. But when they arrive on the top, usually they are quite, also because there is a lot of valley on the top of the volcano. This is now I show you a little bit of image of Etna from the top with all the historically classification of the eruption. That at the end of the day, you understand that since Etna was born, is in continually changing of shape, altitude, and so literally is covered of eruption. When you see Etna, you remember a lot Jackson Pollock painted, because something seems to be, there is not causality in where the lava go. It's a mix of causality where the lava go. And when you see what is a volcanic soils, the first origin of volcanic soils is the ash. ash dispersion. If you are on the Etna in the day of an eruption, in the day of the ash dispersion, is impressive. You can have a few centimeters of ash on the floor, and these few centimeters can be a lot if you do year after year. So all the Etna soils were done by man, was done by the transformation done by the man that transformed the slopes of the volcano in a system of walls and lava. This is how, for example, a young eruption looks like. This is an eruption of 92. You see it's a mix of stones, lava, and a little bit of ash that start to be. Soils are all different. There is not only one type of soils, because depending by the what is the road of the lava, and how deep is the quantity of ash. But at the end, human intervention is always crucial. You see, the system is a system always attack one of the picture of walls and land where the vineyards are grown. This is what is Etna today. Etna, okay, we had also in our winery, we have a white lotus that they make part of the show of the TV series in our winery. That was good. These are our vineyards on the Etna. You can see this is a picture from Google Earth, and you see where they are located. Etna is divided in contrade. So 20 years ago, I think I remember exactly when, Etna is one of the first Sicilian appellation done in the 60s. And then like 15 years ago, or maybe a little bit more, they introduced the concept of contrade. So they share in different, all the contrade. It was the historical name of the different, you can say, crew or I don't know, area of the volcano. And there's a system of the DOC start from 500 meters and go up to 800 meters and go from the north to the east to the south. It's not in all the island, in all the volcano, because on the eastern part of the volcano, you have two rocky soils. Is the area of Pistache, is the area of Pistacchi di Bronte. So it's a different area. And this is again a picture, because all the eruzioni are classified. And this is very interesting because you can see, if you, this is not the right picture, but if you go in, you see that, for example, the area where there is the most of the viticulture, so the northern part of the Etna, the eruption are of the 16th, 17th century. So only in 400 years, man transformed Etna in soils. If you think that usually when you talk about wine area, you measure time in millions of years or in something like this, Etna is completely diverse. It is a place where really with a small quantity with a short life. Okay, this is again some of our place. As Planeta, we grow to the local variety. We have a terrace of Riesling and a terrace of Nerello Mascalese, of Pinot Noir, just because you want to try these two very special variety in volcanic soils. The last place where we grow vineyards is a place full of memories, that is Capo Milazzo. So it's in the northern part of Sicily. Is really a promontory that came out from the mainland. And you can see on the back the smoke of the volcano of Etna. And this is a special place. This is the northern part, is like an island reconnected to the mainland. Is unbelievable, but it's volcanic. But you know why? Not because there was a volcano, because it's very close to Stromboli. So year after year, day after day, the ash from the Stromboli stops in this area and make like 1 meter of black volcanic soils. Is the area of this very old viticulture, the area of Mamertino, and that is an area that was known since the time of Romans. Mamertino was one of the favorite one of Giulio Cesare. Giulio Cesare talked about Falerno and Mamertino, so Campania and Sicily wines. And the Mamertini were some warriors living in the north part of the island, helping Romans to win some war. They were a mix of Sicilian and people from Calabria, so quite special people. And this is a wine area with a lot of tradition. And there is a grape here called Nocera that is grapes that is produced in a very small quantity in some of the northern part of the island. And this was my presentation. That first, you see me now?
Yes, thank you, Alessio.
First of all, I want to, sorry, because there was something in my computer that confused me a little bit. Sorry, but I hope that I was ready. I want to recap something about Sicily and going back to present, future, and I want to go back to Sicily a little bit since I know Sicily. In the 80s, 70s and 80s, Sicily was full of vineyards. There was a special reason for this. In Italy, after the Second World War in the 50s and 60s, there was a strong emigration from the south to everywhere, especially in the big city. Sicilians used to emigrate to Milano, Germany, America, everywhere. And to avoid a little bit this, there was an agriculture that was with subsidy from Europe, from Italy, from Europe, to stop Sicily in the country and also to keep the country like it was in the past. And so they produced a lot of vineyards in Sicily, but they didn't have a lot of market. This kind of wine done in the 70s, in the 80s, was most for bulk wines, cooperative, and so it was a little bit, of course, a different time. In the middle of 80s, Sicilians understood that was no more time of this kind of production. And there was a renaissance of Sicilian wines, start to do something that was much more close to the market. First of all, rediscovering the old appellation, and also a little bit also with some other grapes, like French grapes, that was important, especially in the 90s. And today, Sicily is less vineyards than before. But when I was a student, Sicily labeled 2% of their production. 2%, so nothing. Today, Sicily labeled 60% of their production, and the rest is still on the market of bulk wine. So there was a renaissance of Sicilian wine. People start to understand Sicily a little bit like not a one wine region, but a mosaic of wine region, because this was my job was in the last 30 years to go and discover all Sicily, plant vineyards in different areas. Every place is completely different. The style of the wine, the variety, weather, soil. So this is what we understood in Sicily. So this is the difference between and then so step by step, Sicily from be the land of cooperative mostly, and a few private company now is completely different. Now there are a lot of producers, local producers, and cooperative still there, but much less strong. And then it was the boom of Etna. Etna is something very interesting. It's small, Etna, because I said all Sicily is 95,000 hectares. Etna is 1,000 hectares. So it's only 1.5% of Sicilian viticulture, with something like 300 producers. So there is a lot of small producers there. And it was really something, very, very exciting, because there are producers from all over the world coming there, investing there. There's a lot of interest, and there is a lot of energy on the Etna, in an area that have a lot of potential. But I want to say, as a Sicilian producer, I find in any corner of Sicily some story to tell, from the Marsala area to Pantelleria to Etna to Memphis. So it's something, when you visit Sicily, for example, if you go to Palermo, in a city, you see different centuries, colors, architecture, style. This is a little bit like we are in the wine. And I think the image of a mosaic is the more clear image that I've seen some question. Okay.
I can ask the people if you want just to come through to you, Alessio.
Yeah, of course.
Neil Hulko asked about, are there any own-rooted vines in Sicily?
Yes, there are. Not so many, because also in Etna, Sicily and grafting is a very interesting story. You know that still today, some of the port graft that are used everywhere in the world, in California, in Australia, everywhere, were done in Sicily. All the port graft that's called P or they call RU were done in Sicily. So Sicilians were the people that during phylloxera and after phylloxera, they create a lot of port graft crossing American variety. There are still a few old vines. Then people say that are pre-phylloxera, but between you and me, I don't know if they really check the roots, because in Etna you have enormous vineyards that could be 80, 90 years old. Today, many people call pre-phylloxera old vines, but they are the different story. You can be old and grafted, or you can be without graft. I see a few vineyards without phylloxera still exists in Sicily because, for example, we have done experimentation, and if you leave the port graft, you see the phylloxera on the leaves of the phylloxera. So I like very much the old vineyards from Sicily. I'm not a fan of come si chiamano? Sorry, without port graft, because I think the most of the vineyards that people call on grafted are old, but not without port graft. This is why my experience. But the area where you have the most are in Etna, and also in some isolated area on the northern part of Ireland. The northern part of Ireland, the area down the Etna where the Mamertino is on the mountains, is really a wonderful place because it's full of isolated place where they grow sometimes this old variety. I was talking about this research done in Sicily where they rediscovered 50 ancient variety, 50. So enormous numbers. Is a land of biodiversity, and mostly they came from this isolated area where people, for no reason to plant other variety, they make wine for themselves. That was a good reason to grow vineyards, and most of these grapes are in these areas.
Thank you. Nina Cerullo has a quick question. Nina.
Hi, Alessia. I've noticed over the last few years a really big improvement in quality with a lot of the Sicilian areas. And are there going to be any more DOCGs? Because I kind of keep waiting for the bit to be another one announced.
So before there was only Cerasuolo di Vittorio. Today there is only Cerasuolo di Vittorio that started in 2005. Now is the DOC consortium start, so approved to become DOCG, and they're supposed to be DOCG next year, so very soon. Since next harvest will be DOCG. Not at the part, because some of the appellations in Sicily are very small, and to make it people all together to make the DOCG is not super easy. But Etna is done, is DOCG from the next harvest.
Good news. Michelle Shaw has a question.
Yeah, I think my question has partly been answered. I wanted to know the percentage of hillside vineyards on Etna compared to Sicily itself. But if there's only 1% of production from Etna, then it seems to be very, very, very limited compared to the rest of Sicily.
Yeah. First of all, Etna, if you talk about the end of 19th century, half of 19th century, Etna was literally covered of vineyards. So from Etna to the bottom, and most of the, where today you have citrus, it was covered of vineyards. For a simple reason, before the electricity exists, they make wine that can ferment without having too high temperature. especially in place where you harvest late and you are in altitude for having a better control of fermentation, decent control of fermentation, or not too hot area. So Etna was the place of viticulture. The rest of Sicily was more focused, of course, on Marsala in fortified wines, because there was this enormous develop of. I want to spend a few words about Marsala also. Marsala today is not so small, it's not so big, but Marsala was enormous because any person need to have a bottle of Marsala at home. We use Marsala for cooking. We use Marsala as a medicine. We use Marsala for drinking. We use Marsala when we were a child and we were sick. We had don't say to the commission, sanitary commission. We had Marsala, sugar, eggs together, licked. The morning after, go to school. No discussion. And Marsala was super strong. Then, after step by step, people changed aptitude. They were start to make to industrial Marsala, and the Marsala consumption go down for sure, but still was very good. On Etna was full of viticulture, and then what's happened was that after phylloxera arrives in Sicily much later. This was the richness of Sicily. Because when phylloxera arrives everywhere, there was a collapse of production of wine. And people had a lot of demand of wine. In Sicily, because we know everything in Sicily arrives later, bad things and good things. In that case, to be isolated from phylloxera for 20 years, we were the only producers. So from south of Sicily, a lot of wine was shipped everywhere, especially in the southeast and Etna area, Etna and Noto, Syracuse, the Noto area. So it was the golden time of Sicily, where I showed you before, there were 300,000 hectares of vineyards. So when phylloxera, because phylloxera arrives 20 years later, arrives with a solution. So Sicilian doesn't have the collapse of the viticulture that the other people have. Because while they were studying the port grape, phylloxera arrives. And so we were ready to, a little bit faster than other people to transform our viticulture. And Etna was full of vineyards. Today, Etna, we decided, luckily, and we were part of this, to stop the hectares of the appellation. Because, if we don't stop the hectares in Etna, people plant vineyards everywhere with no good quality, and we end up to inflation in the market. And as you know, you are all professional, you know much better than me that all the good wine area must have imbalanced production and demand. This is like all the top Italian appellation do. And we need to keep under control. So the DOC doesn't allow you to not to plant, but to rivendicare. You know what I mean? To use you can plant eventually vineyards, but you cannot call it Etna. Okay, so there is no right to grow the appellation in Etna. And now people are discussing to give like in the appellation every sometimes a few hectares, but no. Trying to keep Etna must be the fine wine region without too much wine on the market, without planting vineyards in the wrong place, without planting vineyards by people that not viticulturists, but maybe I don't know, rich people that want to do something different, want to keep it protect a little bit, hopefully. And so there is and then Etna today that. In the past, Etna was full of vineyards because the vineyards go down close to. Riposto is the last village close to the sea where the vineyards arrives to be shipped. So today, viticulture appellation start at 500 meters, so much faster than lontano, far.
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
Far, yeah, exactly from the
Further away.
Yeah. And so this is talking about the future of Sicily. You are professional. There are today in the last months there is not a exactly a positivity in the wine world. But I still have a lot of energy because I think that Sicily represents an area that has some value that people likes in the wine. We have a lot of native grapes. We are the greenest because people connect sustainability with some wine area or some wine. Sicily in this could be really important because we have a perfect weather condition to be sustainable because rain season in Sicily is from June, so from January to March, April usually. So we are in the best conditions to protect viticulture. So we are, I say something stupid, but we are naturally organic, even if some producers don't use organic, because our enemy is not peronospora, for example, is not black rot, is not something, because usually I want to say from April to the harvest, you live in a dry area. So we are native grapes could be organic, a growing touristic destination, luckily and at least. So we have some card and some place. Michel, you know very well, Sicily. There are some wine areas, some wineries that are really beautiful. We are, another something that is not easy to explain, but because you are professional, we are an agriculture area. So we are not people that we in our place. We are people that work with us in generation. People are agriculture area. We're not like we don't need people come to Vietnam to do pruning or whatever. We are still people at their own. So they are professional still with deep until today with roots really in agriculture. That is a value, I think will be a value in the wine in the next years, where people don't want to do something, some kind of work. There's not an agriculture's rhythm of the life that we still have in Sicily.
Alessio, following on from what you've just said, Mark Millen was just asking if you could just briefly talk about your uncle Diego.
Yeah.
And say he was a legendary winemaker and what he was like as a family member as well.
Yeah. So Diego was really a pioneer of not of Sicilian, I would say, of Italian viticulture. Because first of all, I think that in Italy there is a generation born around the 40 that was the generation that really make Italian wines. I'm talking about, I don't know, Ceretto, Antinori. These people was born in the 40s, and so in the 70s they were the first that understand the big change, because in Italy wine was something a little bit for I can say you make wine for your area. So you make wine to sell in your district or self-consumption. So these people, there was a generation born in the 40s. Of course, there is a few that start before, but I want to say I find that these people that start to go around the world talking about the wine area, their wine area. Diego was one of these, and Diego was more than one, squadra team, so personality. Because first of all, he was the president of an institute of research called IRBOS. That was a typical useless research institute before Diego was there, typically bureaucratic system. When Diego arrived there, he transformed a useless office in a war machine of bringing in Sicily in the 80s consultant like Giacomo Takis, that was the most famous Italian winemaker and a master that became like the father of all the Sicilian winemakers, create a great atmosphere of trying to do better and better. He bring in Sicily Attilio Scienza, that was the director of school in San Michele Legge and the teacher of University of Milano viticulture. So the best winemaker, the best viticulturist, and another person that you don't know, but as Italian we know very well, that was the president called Gianpaolo Fabris, that was the president of the Marketing University of Milano. these three people became like mentors of the Sicilian producers. And Diego was the coordinator of this as president. And so there is a generation of producers in Sicily that today, now we start to be middle age old, that were all together in different areas of Sicily, you know, start to see Sicily with really the right, the good energy. Diego was also, this is something that unique. So my grandfather, Vito, that was a man born in 1893, founded a cooperative in Sicily called in Menfi. There were 8 people in the 50s. I don't know, and I think you cannot imagine what was Sicily in the 50s in the southwest. I think the west is the right, far from everywhere, far from the city, far from the laws, far from no hope really. And also we had here a terrible earthquake in '68, a big earthquake that killed a lot of people and destroyed the area. So my Diego was president of this cooperative that from 8 people, after 50 years, when he left, was 6,000 hectares of vineyards and 2,000 people. For example, in England, they work a lot. They, as Tesoli, as Inicon, and whatever. So Diego create this cooperative, and he made it for free. So he was president for free as to make the village. Thanks to this cooperative, the area was different from the other area of Sicily, of this part of Sicily. It was quite an area with a good agriculture. Diego used to speak English fluently because also he had an English wife, Spanish, French. Well, it was like a old-style Sicilian, travelers, a lot of energy, a gentleman, country gentleman, a special person, really. And is for all of us, he died 3.5 years ago. It was a special person that many people in the wine world know and respect him as a person that always work for the area, not for himself. He was the founder of Assolini, that is the association that has done a lot for Sicilian and him, Giacomo Rallo and Lucio Tasca, they were like the come si chiamano I cavalieri, the chevalier of Sicilian of that time. And but still today I'm very good friend of son of Lucio Tasca and Antonio Rallo and Giacomo Rallo. We were together, feeling a little bit like and Diego teach also us to travel. As Planeta, we were, we are exported in 75 different countries, but in many of these countries, we were the first Sicilian to go there to talk about wine. I was last week in Mexico to promote our wine in Mexico. It was great experience and lovely experience. We've done this with really feeling also something that Sicily. Veronelli used to, that was a very famous Italian writer, used to say that Sicily makes at that time 30 years ago silver wines with golden grapes. That was a very kind way that we didn't make great wine in the past, and we have to do more. And step by step, there is a lot of producers in different areas of the island that show an area that is really the best way to describe for me is a mosaic. In Sicily, they are the most beautiful mosaics, in Monreale, in Palermo, in Cefalù, that are a mix of color, a mix of style, a mix of mystic energy that we try to have.
Alessio, thank you very much. No. I mean, I
go totally in panic with the presentation. That never happens to me. But then they leave me here because the office is 6 o'clock. People go. I'm so sorry for this. But
no, it was really a very comprehensive presentation of Sicily, and as we've seen, it has its own definite identity from that of Italy, with its local and ancient varieties, with its volcanoes, And of course, so much history has traversed the island. And thank you so much for explaining it all to us and putting in your passion and your, your own thoughts. We really did appreciate it.
Conclusion.
Thank you very much.
No, Michelle, of course, share with everyone presentation that is, of course, we are very, very happy to do. And you have my contacts for any information and things that I didn't say properly and they want to, of course, I'm happy. And thanks really all of you for your time.
Thank you.